In today's one, we're talking about the squads that's been announced for the All Blacks versus Argentina in the Rugby Championship. We've waited so long for this, and it is a year right now, guys, and I am excited for this one. And then, of course, the Springboks versus Australia. Now, for me as a Springbok supporter, boy, this has got to be a big one. So when we look at that All Black squad, we start straight away with Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor and Tyrell Lomax. Now those three, no surprises to me that they would start. Obviously the guys with the most experience. That does mean that the likes of a George Bell obviously will not get an opportunity because you've got Osafo Omua coming off the bench, and I thought for times that Osafo Omua might lift Cody Taylor out of that starting lineup, but Cody Taylor actually vice captain and starting still. He's a good player, but he has had, out of his form over the years, I've got to say the last year has been not as great as previous years, but nevertheless he starts, and then you've got Osafo Omua there. From the bench, you've got Fletcher Newell coming off the bench. You've got Ofa Tungafasi, both very experienced props. So good props there, guys. No problems. So no problems when you look at these props and the guys coming from the bench. They all look really, really good. I've got to say that interesting to me to see no Tamati Williams feature here. I don't know if he's got an injury. But yeah, he's not been picked at all. And then, of course, also Tossi. But understandably so, if Tossi, he's still new in the mix. But Tamati Williams, I thought, would have started getting himself in there. But who does he lift? He can't lift Ofa Tungafasi or Fletcher Newell. So I guess it is one of those things where these are going to be your guys. Then looking at your locks, interesting here, guys. So I think it was really good to see that Tui Piloto actually, sorry to say it looks good, but just my opinion, Tui Piloto to me feels a little bit like over his time. You guys can have your own opinions. Yes, very experienced, but not been all that great in his last few tests, and now also suffering an injury. I just think the guy's coming to the end of his career. He's obviously trying to still get that All Black position because it's a great honor. But maybe this injury is not a bad thing to get Tui Piloto out there, because, I mean, I want to see more from Tupovawi. I need to see more of that guy. But generally, like I've said before, I've not felt that from a line-out set-piece perspective that the All Blacks have been great. They've been kind of disappointing. It doesn't matter how you want to look at it. And it'll be interesting to see this weekend if they're going to now really start finding form in those line-outs, because those line-outs is an integral part. It totally messes up your rolling maul. So if you don't get your line-out right, your rolling maul is going to be a total mess. So I'd like to see these guys put a different foot forward this weekend against Argentina and start finding some form, because that's the only way forward for the All Blacks. Because, let's be honest, they're not very deep when it comes in depth. If you look at Scott Barrett being injured, Sam Derry and Tupovai is basically their only options right now. They had to pull Josh Lord back in. It was probably a little premature, but they had to pull him back in because they don't have options there in those locks. So they're playing Argentina. I still think they'd be able to do well, and it's the right team for them to start the Rugby Championship on. So I think they'll be okay, but it's something still for the future. They got to get these guys back on track. They really need to build some more depth there, but I'm not going to hammer on that because I have forever, and I know that you guys are like, move on, Joe. Okay, I get it. Let's move on then to 6, 7 and 8. Again, yeah, interesting. Luke Jacobson with an injury, which that means Ethan Blackadder is in, because Ethan Blackadder again to me has not had the best form building up to this Rugby Championship. But you got Dalton Papali'i then on 7, deserved to be there, and then definitely deserved. Artie Savia, also good to see him be the captain. I'm excited about that. I still feel I prefer him. I think he's a great guy to be captain. Such a good player. Always puts everything out on the field. But I mean, if you think about it, who else would you have played? I don't think Sam Kane's ready at the moment. Simapeni Finau, I mean, yeah, he's not really had enough game time for the All Blacks. I mean, you've got Wallace Satiti coming from the bench. As much as I want to say the All Blacks are building some good depth when it comes to their backline, they're still, like, with the forwards, definitely, if a few guys get a few injuries, they have to basically pull to their last resorts because there is no one else. So these are the guys. So who else were we going to play? Who were they going to play for this game? They could play anyone, but I'm talking about who would be in contention. There wouldn't be anyone else. So Ethan Blackadder is in there. And that's maybe what he needs, because one or two games in the All Black jersey in proper tests might just be what he needs. Then 9, good to see TJ Perenara has had an amazing recovery from that knee injury. And yeah, definitely without a doubt, who you want to start with, the experience that he'll bring and the calmness that he'll bring in that team, and probably head up the haka as well. So great there to see him with Damian McKenzie, and that's who they're banking on their 10. Damian really has got a lot to show in this rugby championship to really start showing his dominance in that 10 jersey, because he's not had that for a very long time. He was kind of like in the shadow a little bit of Mohunga, and since then always been playing 15 a lot, stepping in 10 at times, but it's now for him to start owning that 10 jersey. And then looking at your wings, Mark Talia and Savuris, I mean, I can't really argue it. Again, like Mark Talia and Savuris, who else are you going to go for? Yes, Caleb Clark maybe, I don't know. But I can't argue necessarily with Razor. I know Savuris, again, a Crusader. Caleb Clark also would be a great start. Either or. It's a bit of a pity that Caleb Clark finds himself on the bench all the time. And then looking at that 12 and 13, Geordie obviously vice captain, and he's owned that 12 jersey. And no questions there. Who else are you going to play in that midfield? Yes, you could have probably played someone like a David Avili, but I mean, again, he's just come new into the mix. There's no ways that you put a David Avili above Geordie Barrett. Geordie Barrett's been great. Geordie Barrett, and then I think probably the biggest shock of this squad is them deciding to go with Anton Leonard-Brown rather than Rieko Ioane. Now, guys, I've told you, how long have I told you guys? Rieko Ioane has not been performing. I think you guys have all seen it. So it's not like, oh, it's this great point or whatever. I'm just saying that the guy has not really performed up to this point. And rightfully so. I'm glad that Razor's making these moves to start dropping the guys to the bench if they're not performing. It's just deservingly so. He's just... You got to give other guys opportunity. And when Anton Leonard-Brown has come on the field, he's just been great. He comes with loads of experience. This guy's played for years now. And I would have picked him there as well. Then looking at 15, well, it was about time, guys. Let's be honest. Like, Beauden Barrett, you can't play that guy off the bench. You're wasting a valuable player, in my opinion. And I'm so glad to see he's there. They need to play this guy from the start. Beauden with space, such a playmaker, and he's going to be instrumental in this Argentinian game, and he's probably going to be instrumental for the rest of his rugby championship, granted there's no injuries, because he's talent. He's probably the most experienced guy in that back line. And, not having him on the field from the start would be a mistake. That means that, Will Jordan comes from the bench. Rieko Ioane is still on the bench. And then Cortez Ratima, the scrum off, also from the bench. But, I mean, obviously we're going to see second half Will Jordan back in the All Black colours. That'll be great to see, back from injury. because he's also a great player. To me, still Beauden Barrett is talented in many ways. He's very versatile in what he can do. Not I'm saying Jordan can't as well. It's just he kind of forces himself on the play a lot more than a Will Jordan would. Well, not that Will Jordan does anything wrong. That's a great debate at the end. Who's better between a Will Jordan long term and a Beauden Barrett? Because Will Jordan is still actually quite young and will develop. Rico Ioane is really going to now. That's what I like. What Razor's doing here is bringing Rico Ioane from the bench. That is great, because you know what you need to do is you got to put some pressure on these players that they start deserving that starting lineup jersey. And I think Ioane has been getting it for much too long lately. And he hasn't really been deserving it, guys. Now, I don't have enough time in this video to be looking at the Argentinian team. It's probably pretty much standard. There's small little changes that the guys make. It's not me disrespecting the team as such. It's just me saying, listen, I've got a video that's only this long, and I want to still look at the Springboks versus Australia. Guys, lastly, what I will say is, what do I think the All Blacks will do against Argentina? There's no ways to me that Argentina will be able to match up to the All Blacks in the end. But it's going to be a decent win. It's probably going to be about 15 points. I'm going to go with a 15-point win for the All Blacks. That's actually being very, very conservative. I think the All Blacks can blow this out of the water. I do not think Argentina seems like a team that's totally informed this year. And it's going to be a good start for the All Blacks to build some confidence. I just hope that they keep it tight and they focus on their set piece. They focus on cleaning. They focus on the loose balls and the jackling and being the first at the breakdowns. The basics, getting that right, because it has been lacking a bit. And they've, you go look at those games again against England. It could have gone either way. So, yeah. But going on to the Springboks versus the Australians, the Wallabies. Let's have a look at the Springboks team. So guys, let's look at the Springbok team. Obviously, I'm quite well familiar with this team. Let's start right from the start. And I gotta tell you, the teams that the Springboks are putting up now, what they've created is in pretty much every single position they've got depth. So if that will transpose in the games and we'll see the results of that is a different thing, because you can have all the depth in the world, but if you don't have the cohesion and the players don't know each other and they can't do the thing on the field when they come up, it makes no difference, But from a depth point of view, what Rassie Erasmus has done with this team, especially this year again, bringing in new players and kind of developing them, has been phenomenal. The two guys that stand out for me the most this year that he's brought through the system and just this year to start playing for the Springboks is, of course, the big name that if you guys have not heard of this name, you will get to know this name. It is going to be quite clear that this will be the year that the name Sasha Feinberg Mongazulu, it's a mouthful. A lot of people just call him Sasha Mongazulu, so it sounds like Zulu, but Mongazulu. This guy is a prodigy for basically an up-and-coming player that if this guy does not get injuries, he will be a household name in Springbok Rugby. He will be the next Andre Pollard. And why I say that, he's literally lifted Andre Pollard out of the starting lineup against the Wallabies, and Andre Pollard will be playing off the bench. So that's one name, and then the other big name that's come through is Ben Jason Dixon, also from the Stormers, been playing very well. And yeah, guys, let's go through the team. Starting lineup: Frans Malherbe, Bongi Mbonambi, and Oxenche. Now, if you know these guys, you will know Oxenche, Bongi Mbonambi, and Frans Malherbe could be a starting lineup for the World Cup any day. Three of the best starting forwards to have. Going on, then you've got R.G. Snyman and none other than Eben Etzebeth. And guys, you're looking at someone like Eben Etzebeth, 122 tests. Look, he's got some games where he's better and some games he's not always at the same level. He is a bit up and down. But generally, such a force on the field to reckon with. And the same for R.G. Snyman. I mean, You couldn't ask for more for 2 starting locks. Then looking at your trio, loose forward trio there, Peter Steph de Toy, machine starting, great player. And then with him, Sia Kulisi, Sia deciding he's going to not stay on in France at Racing 92. Yeah, he didn't fit into the whole French thing. You do find that sometimes. Even Etzebeth did the same thing. It's not for all these players. They lose out on a lot of money, but they just in the end decide they're not going to do it. And sometimes I understand why, because they go play overseas, they don't perform, they fall out of favor in their own countries like South Africa, and then eventually they're not in the mix anymore. So I don't think it's necessarily always a bad thing to trade the money that you would be making from the club, rather come back home and stay in contention for your jersey. Because I can tell you now, if Sia Kulisi had a really terrible season at Racing 92, he might not have been considered anymore for the Springboks, because there's so much competition, guys. But he's going in there as a captain again. He brings a vibe, he brings an energy, and people want to see him as the captain of the Springboks. But he's still there, and he's still in the mix. The biggest one would be that's come into the mix now is Elrich Louw. Now, Elrich Louw has played for the Bulls a phenomenal year, captain quite often for the Bulls. A great player, a great carrier, a strong, your typical Springbok type player. Very strong in the carries, strong on his feet, and a leader type player, very lead by example type player. Great player to bring in. He's had to wait very long, Elrich Louw, to get his opportunity. Great talent, but you got to also give him some time. Then I'm so glad to see someone like a Kobus Reinach getting a start against Australia. It's strange how every year Kobus Reinach doesn't get picked for many of the All Black games, but somehow always find himself starting against the Wallabies. Well, this year the same. He's been playing for Montpellier for ages. He's 33 years old. Not the youngest anymore, but he's still got a World Cup in him, and he's a great player. And Kobus Reinach would walk into most international teams as the starting scrum half. One of the fastest players in the URC, one of the fastest scrum halves in the world, and a very aggressive and electric player. And I feel happy that he's moved in, and they've kind of decided to kind of not bank on Faf de Klerk anymore. Faf to me has just become one of those players that's kind of like, what I don't like is he slows the ball down a lot by taking hours to do the box kicks and whatever. And with World Rugby really pushing the game to be sped up or speed up, you need more players that play with speed and move the ball quickly. And you can see that the same with the All Blacks, the likes of Aratima, TJ Perenara is pretty quick at distributing the ball. You need distributors. They have almost no time to get that ball out of the scrums, out of the mauls, out of the, rucks. So they have to be so fast at it that with the new type of play, you want distributors at 9. And he's definitely one of those. And he's got the ability to just see space and sometimes surprise you with the stuff he does. Then, of course, number 10, I've spoken about him a bit. It's a new combination at 9 and 10, guys, which it could backfire. 9 and 10 is Kobus Reinach and Sasha Feinberg Mangazulu. And I think what they're trying to do now is build these two as the 9 and 10 combination, Sasha Feinberg Mangazulu and Kobus Reinach. And then from the bench, they bring in Grant Williams, which, by the way, guys, Grant Williams from the bench, impact. Just as fast as Kobus Reinach, if not faster, but also great distributing abilities, very fast around the rusk, see space, very good distributor of the ball. So Kobus Reinach and Pollard from the bench, say no more about Pollard. I don't even have to speak about Pollard. You guys know all about him. So you've got a Grant Williams and Pollard from the bench, and you've got a Kobus Reinach and Sasha Feinberg Mangazulu starting. Sasha Feinberg Mangazulu with only 4 caps, already lifting Andre Pollard out of the team as the starter. You guys will see. This guy kicks 50-22s all the time. He's got the ability. He's broken play. If there's any space to just break the line and kind of... The last try that he passed out to Mampimpi was just this underhand kind of offload pass It's the kind of stuff that I see from the All Blacks that he's doing. You know, just his creativeness to kick the ball into little spaces, to know where's the space. He's got a rugby brain, 100% got a rugby brain, but he's got all Pollard's traits. He doesn't miss a kick. He's got a steady head on him to stay calm in hectic in situations. You can see he stays quite calm, but at the same time he brings some kind of flair that Pollard don't have. Mangazulu is more of a flair player. He's got something to him that I've not seen from a fly-off from the Springboks. So exciting player. Watch this guy. Then let's move on. Damian Delelinde and Jesse Kriel. You can't go wrong there. Jesse Kriel, that's proven he deserves that 13 jersey. Damian Delelinde is still the best number 12 for the Springboks, and a great combination. These two guys have played so many games together. Someone like a Lucanio Ama, I mean, unfortunate. I don't think Andre Esterhuizen has deserved it, but a Lucanio Ama has played so well against Portugal. He was covering 2 positions. I don't think he could have done more. The guy's just come back from injury, but unfortunately the way the Springboks pulled their bench up, they play a 6-2, so they need 2 versatility players, and they're going to play Grant Williams and Andre Pollard. And Grant Williams is always going to be above a Lucanio Ama, because a Grant Williams can play different positions. He's quite versatile. So yeah, I think Lucanio Ama would have been in this team if the Springboks wasn't playing a 6-2, but they play the 6-2 where, you know, the All Blacks go more for that 5-3 option like they're doing in the games against Argentina. But yeah, still, Damian Delelinde and Jesse Kriel, nothing wrong. Jesse Kriel has totally deserved that 13 jersey. Then looking at the wingers, I mean, Cheslin Colbier and Kurtley Aronson, say no more. Guys, you know what these two guys, they're 2 weapons in the team. You never would have thought years ago that you can put 2 small guys like this on the field and feel they're going to be weapons. It was always the big guys that would be the danger guys, the type of Caleb Clark guys, the Jono Lobos, the Caleb. And rugby's changed so much that, you know, the kind of Brayton Paulson type players, the Cheslin Colbys and the Kurtley Aronsons, is now danger men on the field. And they are going to be danger. And I'm glad that they've dropped Mapimpi here and played Cheslin and Kurtley, because they deserve to be the starters for this game. Then 15, Willie Leroux back after his concussion. Again, there's been debate over the years about Willie Leroux. I'm sorry. Still the best 15 in Springbok Rugby. His distribution abilities, his ability to see space, very similar to a Beauden Barrett for the All Blacks. I can't put it any other way. They both got a lot of vision. Guys, then going to the bench, Malcolm Marx off the bench. I mean, unlucky to not start, but he's nurturing an injury and he's getting through it. So Malcolm from the bench will be crazy impact to have. Then Gerard Steenkamp, a very versatile player from the bench again. He will be more and more in the mix now because he's proven himself with the Bulls and he's been good playing for the Springboks in the 3 caps that he's got. Then Vincent Koch. Loads of experience. And then you get to those Lucy's, Ben, Jason, Dixon, guys, great player, great carrier of the ball, awesome fetcher, something that I've not seen from the usual players. He just carries that extra bit. He just does that extra bit, and you will see when this guy comes on. I've only been felt that he's been great. Let's see when he plays in the big test what he do. Marco van Staden, Eskom, they say he puts the lights out. He's still there. Great carrier. I don't know. He's there and he does his job, but that's it. Like, I've never seen him do anything extraordinary. A guy also that somewhere along the line, someone's going to lift him if he doesn't do something special. I haven't seen that guy score a try in ages. He's just there. He just does his work, but that's about it. He's a hard worker, but he doesn't shine and stand out as the best ever for me on the field. Then Kwagga Smith, often the best on the field. He's had a few poor games lately. I hope it's not also the end of his era. I believe he will step back up. But Kwagga's there, so versatile, dangerous. Don't let any ball be loose because that guy will rip it, steal it, do anything He's right there. And then, of course, Grant Williams and Andre Pollard. We know from a Wallabies perspective, no McWright, Marika Koribete in the team. Marika Koribete in the team. And I think for the most part, everyone else in that team, if you look at, the games that they played against Wales, that'll be the same guys that'll start. They've got a pretty dangerous backline. There's definitely some playmakers in that backline. So the Springboks have still got to be quite solid in their defense in the backline, although I still think the Springboks have got it. But the forwards, I just don't think that the Wallabies this year is going to match up. I just don't think so. And the bench is the biggest thing for the Springboks. I think that's just where they just hurt teams. And I think they're going to hurt this Wallaby team, guys. For building up to this rugby championship, I felt that the Wallabies might steal 1 year, but I don't know. Without Fraser McWright there, I know it's one player, but that guy is quite special, and his leadership qualities and everything he brings. And just when I'm looking at how the Springboks are building form and having a full team with almost no injuries, loads of depth coming from that bench, I just don't see Australia coming up. But I think with Australia playing at home, probably being a stacked stadium, being able to play against the Springboks this game, I do reckon it's probably going to be a 10-point game. I think it's going to be a 10-point game, but I think it's going to be a 10-point game for the Springboks. I should probably go 9. It's never 10. It'll probably be 9. So 9 points for the Springboks, 15 points for the All Blacks. All Blacks could be more, but I still do believe if they don't sort out their line-out issues, they'll still beat the Argentinians, but probably by about 15. We will see if the All Blacks can actually pull it together in those line-outs and set-piece areas where they really need to improve. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button. You guys have been great so far. Anyone that's watching that can still do that for me, like always, I say I appreciate it. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.